So, dear respected teacher, dear Sangha, this is such a beautiful bell, isn't it? It looks to be very old. I'm going to invite 2 sounds of the bell. So we can just close our eyes and listen to the Buddha calling us home to the present moment. So I'll wake the bell first. So some of us just came back from the holiday retreat in Thailand, Plum Village. 555 people from 35 countries. So very international this time. And almost 200 monastics, monks and nuns also there. So very large group. But it never really felt that way, did it? Plum Village has such a wonderful way of creating a situation, creating an environment that feels so warm and cozy. We were separated into, I think someone said 19 different families, but I might be confusing that with the Wake Up International group. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. But we had a lot of families. And because so many were one from here and one from there, one from Ecuador, we had a lot of English language families. And I facilitated one. We had 32 people in that group from 8 different countries. So it was quite wonderful, all of it. Very full. A lot of teachings, a lot of singing, a lot of sitting. Whether we were sitting in formal sitting meditation or whether we were sitting at eating meditation or sitting mindfully listening to announcements or singing meditation. So something that we love in this tradition is that everything is an opportunity to practice. We don't wait until we arrive at a place like this or until we're sitting on a cushion like this. The theme of the retreat was New Year, New Me. And the last Dharma talk, which was given by the abbot, Thai Phap Nim, I know he said exactly what Thai used to say. So it's a new year, but is it a new you? Or are we bringing the old year into this new year? Mm. In other words, are we embracing impermanence, which is a hallmark or a mark, a seal of Buddhism? The very first one is the understanding that impermanence reigns, impermanence rules, you could say. Impermanence is here. Everything is always changing. But you might have noticed how, in some remarkable way, we seem to not notice that. We seem to get caught in things are the same. And and I'm reminded, Thai, our teacher, ancestral teacher now, he said, I think I read this in a book. He said, you go along and you think nothing's changing day after day, and you look at yourself in the mirror and yeah, same old me, same old me. But then one day, this has not happened to you yet, but it has happened to me. One day, you look in the mirror and you think, I've gotten old. I didn't notice. And all of a sudden, and he said it happened to him too. You go along and you don't see yourself changing because it's so subtle. But then one day, you see it. Oh, the hair is white. the wrinkles. I've gotten old. It's really, it's comical. But so much about our clinging to things as we want them to be, to not change. Now we want to hold on to something, whether it's to a relationship or to our health, the way it is now, or the energy that we have now, or maybe it's a belief that we have, that some opinion, some viewpoint, something that we believe to be true, and we are just sure that it's so true and we want to hold it firm and be constantly getting affirmations that yes, it's true, or confirmation that yes, I'm right, it's true. So all of those ways that we have of holding on and not letting go, and not letting life just take us. I think a lot of us have fear of that, fear of just going with the flow. Can't trust that. So we make our list and we make our plans. We have our 5-year plans, and we write things down. And next year I'm going to do this, and the next year it'll be like that, and then I'm going to. But it just almost never is when you get there. So then we've set ourselves up for disappointment and maybe great sadness because we didn't go with the flow. We had an expectation. I think I've been quite fortunate in my own life. Just the way it's unfolded. Not that I really had no control over it. Although maybe in the early years I thought that I was controlling things. But actually I was just sort of going with the flow but didn't realize it. I think I've lived in 37 different houses in my life. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of change. That's a lot. So it requires a lot of adaptability, flexibility. And so I'm really grateful for that. Very grateful to be a person who learned early on to embrace change. And yet, I know so many people, maybe you do too, who live in the same house that their grandparents were born and raised in. That probably is pretty prevalent here in Vietnam. And I know a lot of people in the U.S. also, my friends, who live in the house that they were born in, who have died there, never moved away from that street, that block. And I marvel at that because that also takes some sort of perseverance, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it also is a going with the flow. So it's just the way our lives unfold. Our teacher says that it's true we have self-will. We can make that decision that, yes, I will pick that up and drink it. But we only really have self-will when we're mindful. In the moment that we're mindful, in the moment that we're present, and we know what we're doing. We know that we're choosing to do that rather than that. When we're not mindful, when we're not aware, we really are not fully alive. We're really on autopilot. We're just doing what our mind has been conditioned to do. And some of us have had some strong conditioning, which makes it difficult, makes it challenging then to, when we do face the necessity to be, or the helpfulness to be flexible, we find it difficult to do. So coming back to the topic, I suppose we've been with it all along, but the new year, new me. So when we have Dharma sharing, which we'll do in a few minutes, and that's another, you've heard me say, and you know that, those of us in this practice, how much we appreciate Dharma sharing. And it's really a practice of learning to speak beautifully, to express ourselves, but also to listen deeply. I know His Holiness the Dalai Lama says that something about we should talk less and listen more. But actually, I disagree with him a little bit there. The way I've interpreted what he has said is that we talk too much and we don't listen enough. But I think that we also can listen to ourselves. And I notice that when I'm speaking, I very often surprise myself. If I'm just allowing the words to come, and especially if I've asked Ty to be present, which I always do, to be present to support me, then I don't have to plan anything. I just see what comes. And you've heard me say that I'm influenced, we each are, by the energy of the group, by the collective energy. So you too might find yourselves saying something that surprises you, and you learn something about yourself that you never realized. Certainly when I really surprised myself when in 2005, when I met Ty at 4 a.m. as he was doing walking meditation, and when they did stop and sit and started talking amongst themselves, and Sister Chan Kong was there, I surprised myself. I said, Sister Chan Kong, would you ask Ty, can I stay here? Can I live in Vietnam? I never had a thought that I was going to live in Vietnam. I surprised myself. It's like, wow. But it just came. Yeah, and so here I am, 21 years later. That was 21 years ago next month. Yeah. He said it was too soon. But she said after he left, Sister Chang Kong's she makes things happen. She's very kind of, she's very courageous and funny and wonderful. And she said, I know Ty's right, of course. She said, but you can come. You just have to leave every 3 months. That's all. And then you can come back. And then you leave again, and then you come back, which is exactly what I do. I have to leave every 3 months. So it's been like that for 21 years. She was right. Yeah. So, we can develop that practice of listening to ourselves, not just when we're sitting in a circle and sitting in Sangha. We can see everything as Dharma sharing. We can see every interaction. When we're on the street, when we're at the office, when we're with our spouse, when our partner, our mother, they don't have to know what we're doing. We don't have to say, I'm practicing Dharma sharing now. I'm practicing deep listening now. We don't have to do that, but we do that. We do that. And we can learn a lot about ourselves. And we can learn to listen and feel like we're sitting here with the Sangha. I tried practicing like this because it's so easy, especially with family, to fall into the old patterns, that the old ways of being, the well-established habit energy of how we relate to one another, and you can forget. You can forget like that wait a minute, I'm so much more than a daughter. I'm so much more than a son or a partner or a colleague. Actually, we're creating an experience together. That's really what we are. So the second seal of Buddhism is the truth of non-self, that we are empty of a separate self, that we're made of everything, and we need everything. So I heard in one of the Dharma talks at the retreat, he referred to the tree outside, and he said, if that tree does not exist, we do not exist. Well, I pondered that a little bit because I think I would say if trees don't exist, because sometimes a tree doesn't exist any longer. So I don't know about that. I'll trust what he said. But I do know that we are not separate from one another. And that goes for our family as well and everyone around us. So we can speak, act from that place of knowing that, of understanding that. And not really try to spend too much time explaining that to people who are not practicing, because they really don't want to listen to that. It's like, what are you talking about? And so that's something that I think it's very helpful if we can remember to allow others in our life to be themselves and to be on their paths, whatever that is, just as it is unfolding for them, and not spend a lot of time trying to explain things in the hope that they will come to Sangha with us, or that they will go on a retreat with us, or that they will read a book that we want them to read, or whatever. Let them come to us and ask. So the best teaching we can give, the best support we can give our loved ones is our own practice. If you want to help those in your family that you see are suffering, having a tough time, pay attention to what you're doing, not so much to what they're doing. Yeah, they have a right to fall on their face. It's just like we are when we are raising children. I wasn't necessarily like this kind of mother. I was a 21-year-old mother who didn't understand much of anything, and I would try to save my first son in particular. By the time we had the second one, I was so busy that the first one was allowed to fall, and I didn't try to prevent that. But until I had the second one, I hovered a little bit, trying to protect, trying to help him to not fall on his face. In other words, to stumble. And then as we grow older and as adults, we don't want to see our adult children or our adult family members making mistakes, what we consider to be mistakes, doing things that we consider are not good for them because it's not good for us. So we have to watch out for that, because we get confused and begin to think that that's how we love, but that is not love, that is control. We're not loving, we're controlling. When we love, we allow people to be themselves, and we don't look at them and think, oh, poor you, you're such a mess, you really need to get it together. No, that is not love. And believe me, when you have those thoughts are action too, and people pick up on your thinking, so somehow that gets translated. So you might think you're having a thought, but you're saying something else. It doesn't work. So, so allowing people to be themselves and paying more attention to how are we refreshing ourselves in the new year. What are we, when we look back at the old year, at how we spent our last year, and maybe we kept a journal. It's very helpful to keep a journal, especially early on. And your practice is really, really helpful. Believe me, 30 years from now, when you read it, have a glass of water nearby, because you might feel a little shocked, and then you'll feel really blessed that you've made so much positive change in your life due to the practice, due to practicing, coming together like this. Twee asked if I would also talk about the trainings, 5 mindfulness trainings. 180 people of the 550, of the 555 who registered, I don't know how many were new, but when they asked for the hands to be raised, it looked like at least a third, if not almost close to a half, of the people who were there were new, had never been to a retreat or a Plum Village retreat. And of that group, 180 committed to these, which are the Buddha's precepts, 5 precepts, but in Plum Village, Thai, in his wisdom, has modernized them. So they're guidelines for how to live an ethical life. So most of you are familiar with them, I think. And this is a copy, so you're welcome to look at it later. It's where I was filling it out for somebody in my group who was receiving it, and it wasn't very beautiful. So I stopped writing and got another one. I didn't want it to be messy like that. I messed up her name. But those are guidelines for the practice. They're very foundational and necessary. So what we do is we commit to them when we're ready, and we commit to them in front of the Sangha. We receive the energy of the ancestral teachers, and we receive a lineage name, because now we're in the Plum Village lineage. And we're given a name based on our aspiration that we write. Mine is concrete practice. So they were saying the basics, Trish, the basics. That's what you need to stick with. And I still do. I heard one of the brothers who gave a Dharma talk said that he still very often, even though he's been a monk for a long time and been in the practice even longer, he said he still, when he sits down to meditate, by himself, he begins with in, out. In, out. The basics. Just going back to the breath. I heard myself say, when we were waiting for somebody, who maybe both of you, in the bathroom toilet, let's just breathe. And then I thought, wow, that's quite a statement. It's quite it's just not true. We cannot. I'm failing when I say that. I'm failing to recognize the miracle that it is to breathe. When I say, let's just breathe, as though it's just nothing. It's just take a breath. But when you contemplate on it, it is such a miracle. And there are many people today who are not breathing well at all. Those with lung disease, those with respiratory illness, those who passed away or near passing away, they would love to be able to take that deep breath. Can't do it. Or all those people who suffered so during the pandemic, had to be put on ventilators. They would have loved to have been breathing. So it's a gift that we can do that. It's a gift if you can breathe deeply. It means your lungs have that capacity. And if they don't have it, you can develop it by consciously taking deep breaths. So calming. So I'm going to stop. And we have about 20, 25 minutes for Dharma sharing. And it can also be a Q&A if somebody has a question, but it would be nice to hear others talking, and sharing. So Twee, would you like to facilitate that? Yeah, okay, thank you.
So dear friends, we will continue our Dharma sharing sessions. So as Chris also mentioned before, it's a chance for us to practice. We practice mindfulness in sharing, in talking. At the same time, we are observing our mind, what is going on with our mind. Even though sharing is optional, really, I find it very helpful to share in front of the Sangha, even though we are not quite clear what we are wanting to say. It's very beneficial. So there's a few guidance. It's not guidance, it's an indication when we share. When someone is sharing, the whole Sangha will listen with compassion. We didn't sympathize or have any judgment. We can share from our own experience, not something theoretical. Anything we share here will be kept in this circle. We will not talk about it outside unless we ask for the consent. When we want to share, we can join our hands together, like the mind and body on one, about the group to signal that we want to share and do the same with peace. We will have about 20 minutes of sharing, so please do not get out of time as well. I will wait the bell 5 minutes before the time is. So we will let's now come back to our breathing when we hear one sound of the bell, and then we can start the sharing session. you, friends, for all your beautiful shares. I know we're short of time, but I'm very pleased to give us some last message before we leave. All these young people trying to navigate the life in the new year.
The sentence keeps running through my mind. I feel happy. I am happy. I feel happy. So maybe that's my aspiration for the year, to be happy in spite of it all, in spite of the craziness, the negative things that we see and think and see in others, and maybe fail to recognize that what we're seeing is ourselves. And in spite of all of that, we can feel happy to be alive. So I don't know if you call that advice or not. My favorite song at the retreat was the one that we sang in the beginning that I said I wanted, was Simple Things. So, we complicate ourselves. We complicate life so much with the labels, for sure. And if we could just keep it simple. Like since I've been back from the retreat, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 4 days, I went out one day, Saturday, and the first thing I did was go down the street to the market. And I love to do that. So I love interacting with the women in the market. I love buying the veggies. I love coming home and washing those veggies. So it really is, chop wood, carry water. It is breathe and enjoy the simple life, the simple things. And get away from that, let go of that logical thinking. That's right. So much thinking. So I know I made a note because Thai Papnim in his Dharma talk, not that we haven't heard this before, but he said, he talked about the French philosopher who said, I think, therefore I am. The Thai said, I think, therefore I am not. So let go of all that thinking, And and he went on to say something I've heard Sister Chen Kong say, and that is, when we are mindful, when we're present with what we're doing, so maybe we're chopping the carrot, and in fact that was the example she uses. We might be chopping the carrot and really there with chopping the carrot, and something will be revealed. The thing that we thought we needed to sit around and think about and plan, it's all in being present and letting whatever is here just come up. Like, Thai, can I live in Vietnam? Wow. Yeah. So that's my last word is be present for your life, and smile and feel happy to be alive. We are so blessed, really, to have this life. You talk about all the little creatures that you're now becoming aware there's so many of them, and how rare it is to be born as a human. And you see, 8.5 billion people on the planet, but how many billions of other life forms? Yeah, many have not even been discovered yet. Don't have labels for them yet.
Oh.
Yeah. So thank you all for allowing me to be here with you. I feel really, I have the thought that I want to go home and check and see if on the 5 weeks of retreats that Loving Work Foundation has this spring, starting in March, that I'll be leading. So we come through Hanoi a couple times, and I want to see, are we here on a Monday? Because if we are, because there are 1 or 2 young people, but I'm not sure what segments they're on. But for the most part, they're older people who can afford, have the time, can afford to come to Vietnam on retreat. And I want all these older people to realize there's nothing to worry about because we have these young people who are doing such wonderful inner work and outer work. So to have that confidence in our young people, so many older people aren't around people like you. I get to do this. My mother-in-law years ago, she said, never put me in a retirement home. Too many white hairs there. Too many white hairs. She didn't want to be where there was just a lot of older people. She wanted the life force, the energy of the young people. Yeah, they could stay encouraged about life. Mm. Yeah. So I don't worry about the future. I don't worry about the future. We're all right, no matter what happens. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. Lots of wisdom. Just like please share your aspiration is you're happy.
That's right.
So I want to invite all of you also come home and sit still. Ask yourself what is your aspiration. Is here. Just let it arise in you. What you want to practice, what you want to cultivate.
Right.
I want to close our beginning with a quote I read here on the songbook. This really catch my eyes. I promise myself that I will enjoy every minute of the day that is given to me. That is given me to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's enjoy breathing. Enjoy this last minute of our session. Hear 2 sounds of the